And welcome to the Big Gunner Podcast. Well, preseason game one is in, and I will tell you so many positives. And the number one positive is no major injuries. That's the number one thing. But the Giants beat the Bills 34-25 in Buffalo, come up with a big turnover late to save the game, and then Deontay Johnson makes a very nice tackle. It was a 9-point game at the 1 yard line to kind of knock the game on a fourth down play, which made us prevent an onside kick or potential loss. But really, it's not about wins or losses. It's about that the team scored 34 points, which was the most they've scored since 2004 when we had a rookie Mississippi quarterback also there in Eli Manning. But a lot of positives we saw. I think number one was the opening drive. Russell Wilson converted third downs, looked very poised. Offensive line gave him time a little bit, didn't feel rushed. Hit a couple of Theo Johnson on a couple of plays, and hit Humphrey on a play. Like the offense looked looked a lot of control with Russell Wilson there, and I thought it resonated a little bit with Jackson Dart also. I think the calmness these guys are playing in the quarterback position. I think the quarterback room is as good as it's been since Eli Manning was in the Giants. So I feel very positive about what you saw out of the quarterback position. Probably the story of the game, the two big stories, three. I'll give them three big stories, all three rookies, and we'll get into this. Let's start with Jackson Dart on offense. Obviously, every major outlet network talking in praise about Jackson Dart and the job he's done. And, I'm going to address Mike Tannenbaum after I get through this about what he's saying. But, yeah, I think, I like the way he looked. The throw for a touchdown was pretty good, and the fact that he audible to it was even better. Just leading the man, pulling him open, having the confidence that that's what practice does, that he can get that separation late in the throw, but the throw is as good a throw as you'll see all week, maybe even, as good. You won't see many better throws, I could say that. So you feel like you got something with Dart. I like the way you felt him calm in the pocket. I like when he took the ball, tucked it, and ran it for 18 yards. I like they call quarterback draws. I think he offers a different type of look with Russell Wilson's in there than him. Russell more of a pocket passer, accurate deep ball thrower. Dart was getting it out quick, 13 of 19 and 158 and a touchdown. So far you got to love what you see. But I think the two other stories, which I think are even more important than Dart, were we'll start with Marcus Mabo, who actually looked like a beast out there, moving great feet, great footwork, handling AJ Espinoza, who will get time in there and looked like he did a good job burying guys, knocking them down. I mean, you got to love what you're seeing on him. And I think you have a player now after Jermaine Eleanor, who's in his second year in his last year of the contract. I think we had a 2-year deal. He might move right in there at right tackle. You feel like that. And Josh Asudu, graded out as a top pass blocker in Pro Football Focus. So if the Giants can get a little depth on the line and solve what always seems to happen, that we get an injury bug on the offensive line, that these are important times. So we got the joint practices with the Jets this week. I think Brian Dable just announced prior today that basically the same list of guys, Scadaboo, Trey Hawkins, Evan Neal, all those guys won't practice and joint practices. So you're getting the same lineup that you saw basically this weekend. Do you want to see a little bit more out of Evan Neal? We got to get him on the field. Malik Neighbors also is not participating. I don't know what that toe is, but he didn't play. We obviously need him week one. I think I wouldn't care less if he even stepped on a preseason game. I think Russell Wilson and him will if they haven't already figured it out by now with the offseason workouts and the veteran that Wilson is, they're not going to. So I don't even care to see Neighbors. But right now, you got to come up with a lot of positives. But Mabo was great, but probably the story to me was watching Abdul Carter. When you grew up a Giant fan, and I'm going back to my teenage years in 1981 when we drafted Lawrence Taylor, not a comparison. But we didn't know what to expect because we always watched our linebackers, Harry Carson, Brad Van Pelt, Brian Kelly. We knew growing up, I got to meet the Giants. My father relationships with Van Pelt and Kelly. So when I would go into the locker room as a teenager, young adolescent, I would see these guys, and these are the guys I looked up to. So I always kind of had a flair for defense. But I will tell you, Michael Strahan, I was a little bit in my adult life. I loved him, but didn't feel what I felt like watching the edge when I was watching Lawrence Taylor. But I will tell you, my eyes can't, when this Carter's on the field, my eyes can't get off the edge. That makes me feel really good. and he didn't disappoint. He had 3 pass rush, got hurries and pressures on all 3 rushes, and 2 of them were against Deion Dawkins, who is a bona fide stud left tackle, who I think is a catalyst to why the Bills, or wherever they want to throw it on Josh Allen. I think the Bills' offensive line is probably one of the top 3 or 4 in the league, and I think it was a really good challenge. But you could see that Carter is special. And I think having that defensive player, exactly what the Giants did, not rushing to grab a Shedeur Sanders or Dart that high up, and decided to go with the best player, and I think they got him. I would be surprised if he's not the best player in the draft when it's all said and done. I like Travis Howard. I wanted him, but I think the fact that Jacksonville traded up in front of us with Cleveland might have been a blessing. So Carter's going to be a stud. We'll get more of him this week. I'm interested to see the videos that we'll get when he's going up against, getting reps against top-notch Jet offensive linemen. So I thought he was absolutely spectacular in just the 6 plays he played. The defense looked good. I thought one of the little stars unnoticed was Turbo Miller, number 25, out of the backfield. He has a burst. That looks like a linebacker is going to struggle to cover him. He wasn't even on most of the 53s I saw, but after watching him, we might have to find room if he can contribute on special teams. I'm thinking this guy is a player. He played at Columbia, was a star there, ran for 1,000 yards, all Ivy League player. And then he went to South Carolina for a year before we got him as a free agent, and he runs around 4.3, and he showed his quickness, burst there, and that's what we need out of the backfield. So, in my opinion, I hate to say this, but more and more he develops, you might see Devin Singletary as a cap casualty. Just paying him a lot of money, and maybe we move on from that. I think we've got to look at Scatterboo hopefully in the upcoming weeks, but I think he's, from what we're hearing in practice, is a little bit of a beast, short yardage back that we need, that extra push yard. I think our backfield's in pretty good, in a pretty good position. So, little Jordan Humphreys made some plays, and people are thinking he's a possibility of a roster spot. So the Giants are developing some depth, which I think is really important through these preseason games that we get to see more of. And with all our guys out not playing, there's players that are going to be on the field that are stars. Neighbors, Andrew Thomas. We didn't play. Dexter Lawrence didn't play. These are the guys that are going to lead our team. And Buffalo, they played their starters for 2 series, and we moved the ball against them. So a lot of positives to look at after week 1. Jets coming up this week, joint practices. So I can't wait. For far as the picks this week, I thought it was very interesting how the kickoff rule led us to a lot of overs. I think what we're going to see in these preseason games is that the kickoff rule now, there's a year of data to look behind it, see what happens. They're moving the end zone kickoff to the 35-yard line, not the 30 this year. Shortened field, 65 yards, 2 good first downs. You're in field goal range with these kickers now. Might enhance for more points. The average, taught this to Jeff DeForest just before on No Filter TV on Bury Your Bookie, that there's the totals were low and everybody was shading the unders. They made a lot of money with last year, but I think we didn't know about the kickoff rule, and I think the field position change is going to be adding 10, maybe 10 yards, close to an average of 10 yards on these possessions might lead it. And also, I think that the defenses, honestly, I don't know that they're, the tackling drills obviously are going to, there's not much tackling done in preseason because of the contact and less the injury cause. I just look at it like maybe these players just, you're not going to put your starters out there as often on defense just because you need them for the season and the injury bug. Very interesting situation happened. We had Madison, the back from the Miami Dolphins, is now out for the season after having neck surgery yesterday, playing in a preseason game as their lead back, or number 1 back that they will have. And now a room that was deep for Miami doesn't happen. And I thought the most startling injury was a very interesting time was in the Chargers game. So the Chargers get a DB, I forget his name, that picked off 2 passes, returned 1 for a touchdown. And it's a 20-10 game. They throw a deep shot. They're up 20-10 with 3 minutes to go. New Orleans is not calling their timeouts. They're not trying to win the game. They're not trying to extend the game. And they take a deep shot, and they get a ball 1st and goal at 10 at the 11-yard line. They hit a deep shot for 40 yards. and the 2-minute warning, and you can take a knee and get out of the game. Instead, they run a play, and the back breaks it outside. Rocket Sanders, ex-South Carolina back, breaks it in for a touchdown. Crowd goes wild. So if you have the under 39.5, you still think you're okay. But here's the point I'm talking about is why the Chargers may have made a mistake. Losing Rashawn Slater earlier in the week to a knee injury during practice is one reason. But what happened was on the kickoff coverage, that same DB got hurt and had to be carried off the field. We don't know his status. He's hurt. So you have your star player of the game defensively covering a kickoff that you shouldn't have had if he took a knee. Now all of a sudden he gets hurt. So I think again, I said it right in the beginning, being healthy is the number one thing you want to end up with these preseason games. We have guys that are nicked up. Practices are going to create this. Scatterboo didn't play for injury. Evan Neal didn't play for injury. Like Neighbors didn't play for injury. Trey Hawkins didn't play for injury. We got to figure out a way to stay healthy. And then that particular case, what made interesting to that is the Chargers lose a real prominent DB that probably would have either made a roster spot, maybe moved in as a nickel, was moving up, and now they lose that depth because of a silly reason by just not taking a knee. So that's just my thought. I know you need to work. I know you want the contact. I know you want to practice. I know you want to instill a different culture in your team. But I don't think necessary plays at this time are necessary. If it was a regular season game, he would have taken a knee for sure. So that's just what I thought about that in one episode with the Chargers and looking at injuries. But again, with the Giants, you got to feel pretty positive. So Landon Dickerson, not that we like to see anybody get hurt, but Landon Dickerson, a stud Philly offensive lineman, is hurt now. He gets carted off practice yesterday. He's probably going to be around for our games against Philly. But the Micah Parsons and drama in Dallas is not going away. It's a lead story everywhere you look. Does Jerry get him signed? He's paid a lot of money to CeeDee Lamb, a lot of money to Dak Prescott. Does he feel like he wants to put, 40% of his cap in 3 players? You don't know. Maybe there's some personal difference with these guys. I know this, growing up a diehard and Bill Parcells guy, he would have some kind of something to say about all these different podcasts, these players talking about the team outside of team locker room and team, facilities. That's something that just didn't exist back a long time ago. But now with social media and access to fan bases and trying to create a brand, you can't stop these players from doing it. And it's hard. But when you have a guy that's as prominent as Parsons talking about his opinions all the time, maybe Jerry doesn't want to see it. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out why this guy wasn't signed. I go back to our angle that, boy, if we had him and now Abdul Carter, because remember, the Philadelphia traded up in front of us in that draft to get Devontae Smith, which is the guy we coveted. We decided to trade out for Kadarius Toney and give the Chicago Bears a 10th pick, who they took Justin Fields with, who's now playing against us this afternoon as a Jet. I thought right away, draft Micah Parsons. Of course, no one ever pays attention to anything I say, but that was just an interesting take that I thought I had. And then you see Parsons develop into some great player. But as a defensive fan, I always thought the Giants built their teams on really good defenses. Maybe the 2011 Super Bowl wasn't built on a great defense, built on clutch winning and playing right and experience at the time. But our 2007 pass rush was something to be formed about. And now when they call it that NASCAR rush, when they get the 4 best players on the field, I think we are going to have we might have the best 4 players individually that are going to rush the passer on those downs if we decide to implement that kind of style. Because, Carter looks like he's the real deal. But I love getting that pass rushing type force, and it's being talked about. People out there saying the Giants could have a really, Dan Orlovsky yesterday's quoted as saying that the Giants would be a really tough team if they get a lead ahead of you to come out when we can just rear back and get after you. So I think it'll help the defensive backs. I think it'll cause turnovers. I think as long as we tackle right in space, I think this defense looks like it's going to be much improved. I think with all the drama happening in our division, I don't know. I just think there's some signs here that could lead to a really positive start or a good season for Big Blue. So that being said, get to the sports for today. I'll come back. I don't have anything for the over-unders for football. I'll try to get something on Instagram for our game this week against the Jets. I kind of like the over 39 in that game just because I thought I was impressed with the Jets' offense at Green Bay, and I think we'll be able to move the ball like our depth at quarterback. So I think you'll have players playing later in games who can move the ball, not to raw. So I like that. And so that would be my play for this. I don't know about the game itself. Jets look very impressive against the ones for Green Bay. So we'll see what this materializes. But we do have a bet with a friend over under 5.5. I have the Giants to have more wins than the Jets. So we're going to be watching this game intently to see where both teams show up in the second week, which you'll see more starters play. I don't know if the second game now, because only 3 becomes a third game, which was usually more than half preparation. I think because you have the extra week off, people use the third game as well now. So you have 2 weeks before the first game, so you get that time where you get that rest that you want to prepare for. So it's different. But we'll run down the baseball slate as we can right now. Phillies, Reds tonight. Phillies get a huge win. My boys were touting the Reds with Abbott last night. Abbott's been struggling a little bit, lost some games with him. But Philly played well, came back. Now they're a favorite. Singers pitched well. Suarez, Phillies laying 140. Kind of don't have a push, but I would lay the favorite possible. Braves and the Mets. Boy, the Mets are struggling. Getting swept by the Brewers, swept by the Indians, losses of 7 straight. Braves playing a little better, get the Marlins. They kind of knocked the Marlins down unless we're taking 4 or 5 from them. Strider against Holmes. Don't think I could take the Mets. I have to say I might. I have to take the dog in this spot if I was betting it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that would be what I'm thinking about. Pirates and Brewers, Skeens and Peralta. I kind of like the under 7 in this game. I think both pitchers will go a little bit longer. Brewers have a pen. The thing you have to watch now with the Pirates, are they shutting down Skeens now to give them less innings to save the arm because they're kind of out of it. So I think you're going to see this for sure in September. For sure you're going to see it. But are they going to start it now with maybe him having about 10 starts left in the season? So I kind of like the under. Skeens, again, you lost the bet. Hasn't allowed a run in 24 straight starts, but you lost the late at 2-1 on the Pirates Reds last start because you had a 3-run inning by the Pirates. So you can't, not necessarily can you bet the no-run score in the first inning, which I would like to be a bet on this in this particular game. But Brewers only laying 122. I kind of like them again. They're playing so well, and they have their ace on the mound. So even though they're going against a great pitcher in Skeens, I kind of like under, and I would take the Brewers. Rockies, Cardinals, Freeland, and Liberatore. Kind of like the Cardinals, get a big win, 2-1. Kind of like this bet if the Rockies get ahead again. I really kind of like the chance of betting the Cardinals. You took them in the 8th inning, got plus 2-1, and you won the game with 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th to go up 3-2 to win. Padres, Giants. This is a series where the Padres could kind of put the Giants away. Last night, the ace was on our show. The Pirates win 4-1. Pirates pen now loaded up. Should be really good after the 6th inning if you get a lead. Padres Ray against Giants. I would take the Padres and go the dog again to plus 103. Another interesting game, earlier start in American League, Mariners and Orioles. Kirby and Kramer. Kramer's been very, very good at home. Mariners playing their first road game since all this stuff goes. Kind of like Baltimore a little slightly in this game as a dog at plus 147. Yankees are going against undecided. There's really no line on that. Kind of would lean Yankees. I think they just turned it around here. The Twins just seem like they're packing it in after making the bullpen trades. Tigers, White Sox, don't really have a feel for this game. Want to see who the White Sox are bringing. Flaherty's been beat up a little bit. Tigers get a 2-1 win last night. Kind of lean White Sox, but no play probably. Red Sox, Astros. Red Sox get their ace, Crochet on the mound. Struggles last night, gets beat up, loses the first 5-inning bet. The Red Sox come back from down 7-2 to make it 7-6. Dustin May going against Arrighetti. Kind of would think maybe the Red Sox here is a dog, but no real play. The Rays and the A's, Baz and Lopez. I thought going to Oakland would be Sacramento, I'm sorry, not Oakland, would be a good spot for the Rays after leaving Seattle. I kind of like them again today. Took them last night as a small dog, just on the price. They weren't plus money, but weren't there, so that's one. This game I really like tonight. The Guardians playing very good ball, only laying 136. Allen against Junk. Marlins look like a little bit more of a team that's kind of thinking of the future. The line's pretty low. I think they might think there's a pitching edge with the Marlins who have been playing better ball. But I like the Guardians laying at 136 here. This game I like a lot. Cubs and Blue Jays. Blue Jays coming off the long road trip. Barrios and Brown. Cubs losing 2 out of 3 to the rival Cardinals. Like the Cubs getting plus 109 in Toronto tonight. The Nationals and the Royals. Nats take one on the chin last night, blowing a 2-0 and 4-2 leads. Struggling the bullpen. Walk is laying 163. Don't know if Witt's playing. Wouldn't touch the game. Probably I had to bet it. Lean dog always when you have to bet it, but I don't see any interest in the game. This game I like the Diamondbacks and Rangers. Diamondbacks struggling in the bullpen. Blew a 6-1 lead last night. Rangers fighting for a spot with the Yankees. Lighters pitched okay, roughed up a little bit. Kind of like the Rangers in the spot, laying 140. Dodgers, Angels with a pitching change. Maderos going up against Sheehan. Again, you're laying that big number with the Dodgers. I'll take the Angels on the road plus 159. We'll come back to you. We'll send some stuff out on Instagram. Big Gunner Podcast. Giants looking better. A lot of positives in Big Blue Camp. Keep an eye on the Jets Giants joint practices. Kind of a little opinion here. I think there could be something done with this, where joint practices turn into preseason games in the upcoming years ahead, where you could charge the tickets. The Giants have a lot of people witnessing practices. You can see the videos out on X, Instagram, who's watching it, and everybody becoming their own media conglomerate there with their cell phone. So I just think that these are fun times to watch these kind of joint practice, pay attention. Just don't want to get anybody hurting them. Don't want to get anybody hurting these preseason games. But there are a lot of positives coming out of Giant camp. Dable, again, fighting for his job along with Joe Shane. I thought all the rookies that participated there all played very well. That gives us another draft class so far that I feel very positive about. Defense played very well, was off. When they had the whole unit on the table, we took a 3 and out. I know Josh Allen didn't play, but still, the stub and the ones were on the field for Buffalo. Their offensive line was there. I feel really good at what I saw last week. So hopefully we keep it rolling with the Jets this week. And, go blue, and we'll be back with you.